For our first behavioural presentation for the day. My name's Keith, and over the next 10 to 15 minutes I'll be telling you a bit about tigers. At the same time, my three colleagues, Simon, Dan and Pat, will hopefully be getting these three tigers to demonstrate some of their natural skills and abilities. I say hopefully because at most stages we just make the tigers do anything they don't want to. Instead, we simply ask, we'll also be encouraging them to demonstrate these behaviours with use of food and troop rewards. These consist of pieces of horse and chicken meat, as well as milk and some frozen milk cubes. Now, encouragement is something that you can also help us with. So when you see the tigers doing behaviours you like or appreciate, get right behind them and make heaps of noise by clapping, shouting, screaming, cheering, whatever. But the more noise that you can make, the better our presentation is likely to be. Now, the three tigers out here, that's the way. Just hold on to that though. You enjoy the enthusiasm. Over here at my left-hand side, you can see Sultan. Now, Sultan is a 15-year-old male Bengal tiger that was born right here at Dreamworld. He weighs around 190 kilos. And you'll notice he does have a bit of a limp on his front right-hand side, so he is on all other duties at the moment. And now on my far right, you can see his brother Rama. Now, Rama is not quite as heavy. He weighs around 175 kilos. And the reason for his unusual colour is that their father was a white tiger, mum was orange, but also carried that recessive gene that causes the lack of pigment, but only occurs in the Bengal subspecies, so that's why Rama is just in between or amber colour. And last but not least, right here in the middle, this is Ravi. Now, Ravi is one of our youngest tigers, 1.5-year-old male Bengal tiger that has only just started doing the presentation, so he's not fantastic. He's pretty good, but he's still learning the consistency of being doing the behaviours during the presentation. You'll see what I mean as we get through the presentation. But folks, these are three of the stars of Tiger Roll. How about a big round of applause for making heads and eyes and getting right behind Rama, Ravi and Sultan. That's right, that's great. Keep that up. You'll see we'll help us out. And right now, you'll see the handlers getting the tigers ready for our first set of behaviours that will all involve milk as the reward. The very first behaviour that you're going to see, pretty simple one, and it's what we call a sit-up. And as you can see from all three cats, it's also pretty cute. How about another round of applause, folks? Just so the cats know we appreciate their efforts. Now, apart from being very cute, this is also a very natural behaviour. Like something you typically see the cats doing, sitting up beside the trunk of a tree. That's because tigers, being solitary and territorial, they do scent mark their territories a lot, especially using the trunks of trees. So in this position, other tigers coming across those scents are able to sit for extended periods. They can check out those scent marks, not only looking at which tigers have been there before them, but even how long ago a particular tiger may have been in the area. And if you happen to see them doing it out here on display, you're probably going to notice they'll be rubbing their cheeks up against the tree. That's because they have scent glands in their cheeks, so they can leave their own scent there at the same time. So sitting up like this, you notice they get a reasonable height advantage. Now, there are times they need to reach up a little bit higher. Fairly obviously they can do that by pushing up on their back legs. You can see just how high they do reach, with the handlers moving them up onto their shoulders into this rise behaviour. Now, once again, this is something that the tiger would typically be doing against the trunk of a tree. Not only gives it the chance to get to those out of the way scent marks, but the opportunity as well to make those very sharp, powerful claws across the tree, which leaves not only a visual mark, but with scent glands between their toes, once again leave a scent mark up on that tree. And it also gives you a very good size comparison between them and us. And the bigger boys, about 9.5 feet tall, Ravi here about 7 feet tall. Now, up on our shoulders, you might think we have to be pretty strong, but that's not the case. That's because they are more than able to support their own weight by themselves. And you'll see that when the handlers move them into what we call a 3-stand or a 5-stand, which takes a lot more strength and coordination from the cat. So hopefully we'll see them move into it shortly, but sometimes especially the older cats, they do take their time about it. But how about a big round of applause down there for Rama? He's leading the way. In a moment, here we go, Sultan and Ravi also in position to get the applause going for them. Now, two tigers confront each other. Typically, they would square up in that manner very briefly. You can see it does free up the front paws. They're unable to strike out at that opponent or even grab that opponent so they can knock or drag them to the ground and then gain the upper hand. So if you ever see two of our adults squared off like that out here on display, we do need to get over there straight away to break up that fight, because it will cause a lot of injury to each other very, very quickly. Not only with their claws, but also with their teeth. And with me, I just happen to have a plastic replica of one of their very large and impressive canines. Now, this replica also includes the root of the tooth, and you can see it's about 12 centimetres from the bottom of the root right up to the tip. As I mentioned, I have a plastic replica, as you can see from the tigers, showing you the real deal right now. They do have all of their teeth, as well as having all of their claws. Now, when they not see, I mentioned those teeth, the series of grooves will come along each side. And the grooves are there simply to allow air to pass in between the tooth and the flesh, That prevents a vacuum from being formed, which means that the tiger can then adjust its grip as it needs to. At the back of the jaw, you might also be able to see the carnassial teeth, and those are the teeth that the tigers need to be able to shear off chunks of meat. The meat for that is that their bottom jaw only moves up and down. It doesn't move sideways like ours can. That means they're unable to chew their food effectively, and that's why they need those carnassial teeth shearing past each other, giving them a chance to slice off chunks of meat, which they can then slide whole. So we'll have a last look at these teeth, folks, and here have another big round of applause for both tigers and handlers, or all three tigers and all three handlers. We're doing a pretty good job so far this afternoon. And what we're going to do now is just try and step the face up a little bit and increase the motivation, hopefully of Rama, but certainly Ravi's motivated. And we'll move them over here and just do a little jumping. Rama's going to lead the way. Just a couple of jumps across these platforms, or between the platforms. Now the distance there is only about 3 metres, so it's a pretty simple jump for a tiger. We've actually seen our tigers jump distances of about 5 to 6 metres. So you can see Rama makes pretty easy work of that from a standing start across there. Pretty, as I said, pretty easy. We'll bring you back one more time. We'll give him a big round of applause. At 15 years of age, he is losing a little bit of motivation. He's probably more interested nearly in getting over here and fighting with sultans. That's why I come and stand between them. But you'll see, side on like this, it does highlight as well just how much they use their tails, not only as a counterbalance and stabiliser, but also as a bit of a momentum clip. But that's why you give Ram a bit of applause now. Pat's going to get him down the front, and he'll get a nice piece of chicken to back up his good efforts. There we go. Okay, back over to Ravi. You're going to get him up now. You'll see the enthusiasm a little bit heightened with Ravi. He's quite happy to fly across there as long as he concentrates. You can see once again that tail being flicked around as momentum and also as a stabiliser. The other thing you might have noticed with both Ravi and Rama is that when they are jumping, as powerful and as explosive as they are, they only jump from each to each. They never jump really any further than they have to, and that's because they're always trying to conserve their energy. They never want to waste any more than they need to because of that explosive nature. They are endurance animals, so they can't sustain the sorts of speeds that they can get up to about 60 kilometres an hour running legal time. And now we had a big round of applause for Ravi. Here's that enthusiasm, leaping all over the place to get those bits of chicken and bits of horse as well. So a nice way to finish that up. What we're going to do now is move on to some more, I guess, specific training. They're probably called mark training. The marks are simply these boards that you can see the guys have collected. Now you'll notice quite obviously that the two older cats, the more experienced tigers, get the smaller mark boards because they've worked it out. Ravi, on the other hand, is not quite worked this out, so he gets a nice big mark board. And I guess here what we're aiming for, or asking for the tigers to do, is to place their two front feet on the boards and then stay on that position. So with the younger cats, the bigger board, the bigger chance of success. So he's got his two front feet on there and getting rewarded heavily for that. As he moves from one to the other, he'll have the same treatment, so that hopefully he'll work out in time that he just needs 2 feet on there, and then he'll get the food, and then over time we can reduce the size of the mark boards to what the older boys have here right now. And you can see through this mark training, not only can we hold them in position, but we can also move them from one point to another. Now, the benefit of that is that we can then have the tigers involved in television programs and commercials. So we do need to hold them and be able to move them around, but in that situation, typically they're off leash, and there are all of those distractions. So it is essential that they are focused on getting onto those mark boards. Now, the reason in turn that we have them involved in the television programs and commercials is that we are able to raise money for our Dreamworld Wildlife Foundation. And you may not be aware, just over 100 years ago there were around 100,000 tigers living in the wild. And during that 100 years or so, we've managed to wipe out around 97,000 of those tigers. So today, there are only an estimated 3,000 tigers left in the wild, and of those we still lose around 1 to 3 each day, mostly due to habitat destruction and poaching. So through our Wildlife Foundation, we support organisations that work in the field throughout Asia, not only educating people about the fact that the body parts of tigers are of no benefit medicinally whatsoever, but also about the need to preserve their habitat. So it is work we're very proud of being involved in. Work you may like to help us with, you certainly can. If you spin around and have a look over on the blue wall beside the stairs, you can see that we have a large sign. Attached to that sign is a donation box. Through that donation box, we would invite you to help us out with tiger conservation by simply putting a few coins in there at the end of our show. And if you can help, obviously, we would be very grateful. And that's the serious, also important side of what we're involved in here. Another important side though in raising the awareness of these magnificent animals is showing you out their amazing for natural tiger behaviours. So with that in mind, folks, I'd like to hear it as loud as you can for our final behaviour for the show. Who out there would like to see a tiger climb a tree? Great. Now, tigers not really known for their tree climbing abilities, but as usual, with the right motivation, like a nice big piece of chicken, on the end of this pole, then climb they most certainly can. So when you're ready, Dan, let's show everyone just how well they can climb. And there you go, Ravi, doing a pretty good job of that. Now the reason we haven't taken him too high is we're trying to encourage him to climb back down rather than just jump off. So in time, as he does start to climb back down, so again putting another piece of chicken on there and then getting a reward in time, we'll be able to get right to the top and then climbing back down. But that's a big round of applause for Ravi, Rama and Simon, as well. A very good job this afternoon. That does wrap up the presentation. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please don't forget about our donation box. If you enjoy the rest of your day, bye for now.